we've all had... you know, this outfit really isn't working for me. Can we roll it back? Nice details, but too bright. How did I even put this on? Alright, one more time. Much better. We've all had them. Well, cartoon crushes, yes, but I mean we've all had our ships. Two characters we want to see end up together. It's a harmless hobby. Usually. Ships come in all shapes and sizes, ranging from they canonically cuddle every Saturday night to is this even legal? After years of watching cartoons, I've realized something. What is it about animated programming that makes the shipping wars go off the rails? Some of these pairings have created huge controversies, and even death threats. Yeah, we'll talk about that one in a bit. The purpose of this channel is to learn together the best practices in writing and directing animated shows, characters, whatever. So naturally, a topic this pervasive in animation writing was going to become its own video sooner or later. Oh, I almost forgot. I need to show you guys this amazing fan art by Tongahiti. I hope I'm saying that right. I didn't think drawing candles in a more realistic style was even possible given the weird head shape, but they totally nailed it. Their Instagram is at the bottom of the screen, so go commission them, please. They do amazing work over there. Thank you so much for the fan art. Anyway, we're going to be looking at some of the most famous ships in cartoon history. The weird, the wacky, and the downright insane, and almost illegal. At the end, we'll compile what we've learned, and create two new characters who are scientifically perfect for each other. So, happy belated Valentine's Day, and let's jump right into the saucy. Oh boy, starting off with a fun one, aren't we? Finn the Human and Princess Bubblegum from Adventure Time. So already, this one is complicated because it's technically... one of them is a minor, technically. Really not the way I wanted to start this video, I'm gonna be honest. But it's probably one of the longest running ships that I can remember. See, at first, we didn't know that PB was like 800 years old. She's technically not even human, and she keeps the appearance of a young adult. So, in Season 1, it really wasn't that weird for Finn to have a crush on her. It would be far from the weirdest thing we've seen in this show.
See? Squirting. Right here. Tastes good.
Dang, man. Don't just lick stuff.
I mean, all young men have crushes like this at some point in their life. It's all physical emotions and, you know, they're not comparing their relationships and their dynamic to see if they would be a good pair for each other. It's just a little crush. So while I don't ship Finn and PB like at all, I wouldn't call it unnecessary because it does still play into Finn's maturity arc. But this video is proactive. I want to learn how to write a good romantic subplot that develops naturally. So when doing research for this video, I found a great article on writershelpingwriters.net, written by a guest contributor. In this article, they write that one of the fundamentals of writing romance is to introduce subtext early on. You know, before things get too heavy, you need a little tease that there might be some feelings being caught. Being caught. Finn and Bubblegum do have a lot of interactions that suggest this in the earlier seasons of the series, with the first that comes to mind being the episode Mortal Recoil. Bubblegum gives Finn a pink sweater, and of course Finn's like, oh, I'm gonna cherish it, it's the most important thing in my life. The little romance provides a great B-story to what is Adventure Time's first Fate of the World episode. Of course, I would be a fool not to mention the fact that at the end of this episode, PB assumes the age of 13, which Finn is. Ice King ain't no so he gets the fuck out of there. Good to know that Ice King isn't that much of a villain, Jesus Christ. So, anyway, this first ship is pretty alright, although it's not one that was never gonna actually happen. Now here's a relationship with some subtlety.
Thanks for helping me with the website.
No problem.
I'm kidding, of course. Mordecai is a 100% grade A unfiltered simp for Margaret, and the animators aren't afraid to let us know that. All I'm saying is, creating a character like Margaret is a risky business in 2023, knowing the state of the Rule 34 community. No hate, but I've seen some shit. Well, at least they're both adults. Mordecai is the slacker who works at the local park, and Margaret is the coffee barista downtown. The writing of the show makes the relationship somewhat one-sided for a while, but it's clear that if Mordecai would just grow a pair and ask Margaret out, she would totally say yes. I suppose it's part of the humor. You're starting to see some of the difficulty with rating ships on how good their writing is because every ship is different, because every show approaches it differently. Adventure Time approaches it like a maturity arc. Regular show approaches it like... There's no perfect way to write a romantic subplot because every situation is different. What works for one pair won't work for another. However, we do know that a well-written subplot will bring out the most interesting character flaws in each individual, and they can work through them together. So for Mordecai and Margaret, I'd say it's pretty bare bones. Let me ask you this. Can you tell me anything about Margaret? Can you tell me what her favorite movie is? What she likes to do on the weekends? Of course not. Margaret's personality is defined as girl, and it stops there. We know she likes fist pump, I guess? So no, I don't think this was a great romantic subplot. We never really know if Margaret and Mordecai are a great pair because we don't know anything about Margaret. There's no character flaws they can overcome together. Boring. I guess you could maybe make the argument that Mordecai's arc is to not be such a wet blanket around her, which we see in the Season 2 episode It's Time, where Rigby asks out Margaret just to show Mordecai how easy it is. Even considering this, their relationship is kinda basic, could be better. It's mid, as the kids are saying. It is a miracle that the writers realized what they had done with Margaret, and they pivoted and set up Mordecai with CJ, a sentient cloud girl who was excited to be on his first date, but Mordecai was super disinterested and just didn't want anything to do with it. After the date, CJ calls him out for his inability to move on. She offers to be friends, and that's kind of where they're at. A rocky start, yeah, but that's intentional. They do start hanging out as platonics, but it's clear that their relationship could go further if they wanted it to. So far, this seems like a more healthy relationship. And CJ has a clear personality. We get to meet her family. I know we get to meet her dad specifically. Her and Mordecai hang out in situations where they're both interested in the thing they're doing. That sort of thing. I think they even babysat Death's baby at one point. I mean, are we sure these writers weren't hitting the reefers on the regular? Guess that's Hollywood, baby. Welcome to my future. Fuck. But Mordecai isn't done being the worst boyfriend ever just yet, because Margaret re-enters the situation, and Mordecai does a left turn into Fucktown and forgets about CJ, and goes running right back to her. Mordecai lets his bird dick do the thinking, and that's a big problem. I commend the writers for introducing drama and making the relationship more complicated, but we're supposed to be rooting for Mordecai here, not actively like what are you doing, dude? Him forgetting about CJ is just a little too far. I think it's a bit uncharacteristic of him. They do start to fall for each other again, though. Okay, now it's too many flips. Regular show went full Super Paper Mario 3D on our asses. Are they friends? Are they dating? We're not sure anymore. Mordecai and CJ is an example of a relationship that started out semi-interesting, but it just took over the whole show and now everyone's bored. A good takeaway is to not let your subplot graduate to the status of plot, because as we'll see later in this video, that is very much a real problem that can happen, and it has disastrous consequences. Okay. Now we're getting into shit territory. Who could have predicted that these two would become a ship? Literally no one, but also literally everyone at the same time. Because of course the HBO Max original series Velma would try to pull this shit. Alright, I'm getting carried away. So let's start from the beginning. We've established that these relationships have to have an established subtext early on. Those little flickers of romance and a flirty dynamic have to be clear and present before the actual feelings are exchanged. From what I've seen of Velma, which is the first 2 episodes because I'm not hate watching the rest of this show, Velma and Daphne are fighting for the entire 2 episodes, before suddenly, Velma grabs Daphne's hand, and they just start smooching on each other. Excuse me, what? How did we get here? Where's Jake in his tier 15 metaphor when you need him? Velma and Daphne skipped about 7 tiers, I think. Look, I'm all for a Velma x Daphne relationship. It's one that's been in the cards for a while, let's be honest. But these characters were established as enemies in 1 episode, and in the very next, they're lovers. Even the Owl House waited a few more episodes before they made them fall for each other. Velma and Daphne is a relationship built completely on toxicity, and it just does not work for anyone. Can't wait to see a Shaggy and Fred 69. Or maybe that's happened already? I wouldn't put it past him. Oh yeah, I remember this show. Star vs. the Forces of Evil. It was a good serialized cartoon there for a while on the Disney Channel. It's about high schooler Marco Diaz and his best friend Star Butterfly, a princess from another dimension learning to live a mediocre and grounded life on Earth, all while dodging villains and monsters that want to steal her power so they can rule the universe. Pretty good setup, and it's nice to see a platonic boy-girl relationship in animation. That's rare. And their dynamic is great. Great to know that they'll be just friends. And secondary protagonist Marco is in high school, so of course he's got a huge crush on Jackie Lynn Thomas, someone he's known since elementary school, but they've never really gotten to know each other. This relationship gives me Finn and PB vibes, where it's kind of one-sided, but they do show a little bit of feelings, just a little bit. They can be interpreted both as friendly or subtle hints at romance. Of course, the difference being that they're the same age, so this could actually happen. Marco gets closer to Jackie, and they start casually hanging out in the same environments until the episode Sleepover, where we get a great example of a technique I found on that same article from before. It's a little something called bring them together in a vulnerable moment. It's in this sequence that Marco, for a few seconds, became the best male high school character in all of animation. Here, Marco not only realizes what he's done to Jackie, he put her on a pedestal because he liked the idea of her, but then he confesses that he still does want to get to know her, that's all. Marco has subverted the Mordecai complex, where he likes the image of her, but doesn't actually know the first thing about her. Their relationship progresses naturally after this. Good job, he didn't pull a Mordecai. He's being transparent, but he's not forcing her to do anything. Then we get to the best episode this show ever put out. Bon Bon the Birthday Clown. Yep, all you Star vs. shippers, ears just perked up. This really is a great episode. This half-hour special follows Marco as he goes to the high school dance with Jackie, and he leaves Star alone. This does create some admittedly good drama between Star and Jackie, the jealous friend. But this episode really shines with how it depicts the culmination of Jarko's relationship. They get to the dance, and they both immediately agree that they don't want to be there. It kinda sucks. So they just go on a walk instead, and just talk like normal people to get to know each other. Actually, yeah, mad props to the writers here. School dances are just so anxiety-inducing, I wish we had another option. Everyone is way too uptight to have any real fun, and if you went to private school like I did, you remember the 3 Bibles rule, or whatever they call it now. One of my teachers actually had to stand on top of a ladder in the middle of the dance one time so he could make sure we weren't grinding. I mean, he hated it just as much as we did. Private schools, cut that shit out, okay? You're not helping, you're making things worse. Okay, mini rant over. They kiss under the moon, it's perfect. I love it. Marco was grown as a character by facing his fears, and it has a great payoff. And that dress is amazing, maybe the second best part of this episode. Seafoam green? Come on. So I'm gonna leave Jarko with this high point. Yes, it looks like their relationship continues from here, but this is a good point to leave it at. Oh, also, this video is not brought to you by Saltine Crackers. My snack of choice when I'm stuck recording audio in my car at 11 p.m. at night. Thanks, college. Well, this was unexpected. Marco and Kelly get together in Season 4 as breakup buddies. Oof, don't Google that. I'm sure breakup buddies is meant to be taken literally. Marco and Kelly do have a surprisingly good dynamic. They both got rejected or broke up with their crushes, and they just don't want to be lonely. I think that's a great back and forth. And if it were introduced a bit earlier, this could have been a great end for Marco's character. So how does their relationship progress? It sort of begins in Lava Lake Beach, where they share a moment. Alright, good so far. Then we see them as an official pair in a cameo role in the episode Cornball. That's all we get? Alright. Then they proceed to break up off screen in a throwaway line by Marco. Excuse me, fucking what? What happened? Stop skipping tears, damn it, slow down. Marco is super vague about it too. I guess they just both decided to end it. Why? For what reason? We cannot live in a world of chaos. What happened to the slow build of tension over the course of an entire season? Like with Jackie. Obviously the writers never had their hearts set on this ship, because they just drove it into the ground faster than, I don't know, fucking something fast. Consider this rule number 1 of what you should not do when writing a subplot. This is where the controversies begin with SU ships. If you were watching the show during its original airtime, you remember this, most likely. During Season 2, Lapidot versus Amidot was hotly debated. It was debated so hotly, in fact, that a member of the Crewniverse had to quit Twitter because they were being harassed and their life was being threatened. Yeah, these are the death threats we mentioned at the top of this video. The shipping community does go too far sometimes. But as for which one is better, well, let's tick off the boxes based on what we know. Romantic subtext, there is a specific, hesitant moment where Amethyst and Peridot feel something, and it's in the Season 2 episode Too Far. But it's really just this one moment, and they don't share any other romantic interactions after this, so that's about as far as it goes. Later on in the series, Lapis and Peridot grow closer, acting more like an old married couple. So that's big points for Lapidot. However, there is one glaring issue with Lapidot, and that is how these characters meet, which was Peridot capturing Lapis and mistreating her, almost to the point of implied abuse. Not the best start to a relationship, and naturally it creates complications. Although, I suppose one of the main lessons of Steven Universe is everybody can change, and it's who you are now that's important. So ultimately, I have to give the win to neither of these options. Look, I don't think Labadot or Amadot should happen because of one simple reason: Peridot. There's a moment in log date 7152 where Garnet encourages Peridot to fuse with her, and Peridot eventually says no, she can't, and Garnet doesn't push. A lot of fans interpret this as Peridot representing asexuality, and if fusion is a metaphor for romance, and Peridot just respectfully says no to the entire concept, this kind of makes sense. And I think in a show that's this diverse, representation like that is something that we need. It's just too good to backtrack on. So I think Peridot's perfect pairing is herself, because Peridot is awesome. Wait, what? Was this an actual ship? I believe they've had a few interactions? Possibly? Okay, so I guess they hang out in the episode Junk and Janna. I guess they could have a fun dynamic. I don't know, what do you expect me to say here? I wouldn't consider this a canon ship. At all. That was ever considered. Because it's not really ever even hinted at. It's just a fan ship. I wonder how it made it onto this list. Must have been a typographical error. What? These two are not an actual ship, you're fucking with me. Toffee killed Moon's mother. Them in a relationship? No way in hell is that happening. Wait, we are talking about Moon in her current age, right? Oh god. Stay away from DeviantArt. No. Marco is technically still a kid. Yeah, they had one scene with adult Marco that definitely had some sexual tension. But Marco was like 16. Who made this list? I'm not even going to consider this legitimate ship. Ah, illegal. Yeah, I ship it. Romantic plotlines can be really enjoyable to watch, but if you fuck it up, they can ruin an entire show, a la Star Versus. That's why I was so thorough with this script. It's something really important to get right. Anyway, I'd like to take this time to remind you that we have a Discord. Link is in the description and on my channel page. We've grown that server a lot since the last video, and it's actually a pretty happening place right now. Again, shout out to Tongahiti for that amazing fan art. And you can find the full body outfit drawing for this video over there. I think I've improved my drawing skills a lot in the past few weeks, so I'd really appreciate it if you check some of those out. We're also going to start doing a lot of polls on our Discord, like what outfit do you want to see next, what movie should I review, things like that. And as always, anyone is free to request any outfit, and I will probably do it. And even an entire video topic. Also, quick update, big changes are coming to the art style in this channel. Maybe not as massive as when I took a break, but Candles' character design is going to change a little bit. I've been experimenting with different fur colors, and I think I found one that is really, really cool and still looks really great. It's a little bit easier on the eyes than what I have right now. So, be looking forward to that in the next video or the one after. Alright, that's all for this video. My name is Candles, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.